Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Today is March 18th, I think, and it's the 29th day of Ramadan, 1447, and we're almost over. Got one more day of mandatory fasting, and then, gotta make up those fasting days with intentions, but the Ramadan fasting will be over soon. One more day. And I've been trying to get through the Quran using the guidelines that I have for the juz. So I'm on like juz 29, trying to finish it. I just listened to it on my Quran app. Oh yeah, it's almost over. I think the most difficult part of this Ramadan was not the not eating part, not drinking part. It was basically counting down the days. Sometimes it felt like Ramadan just started, and sometimes it felt like, oh, it's not going to end, and then sometimes now it's coming to the end. It feels like a bittersweet feeling, but at the same time, I'm ready to get back to eating during the day. It's not that it's a big deal not to eat during the day, but I mean, you know, 1 month is enough. Any more than that, I just think it's just extreme. Yeah. I mean, you can still fast throughout the year. There's Mondays and Thursdays that we can fast, you know, outside of the Ramadan fasting, the month of Ramadan. And I had some changes that I'm not going to talk about because they're just interpersonal changes. But I mean, I was on the Muslim, it's not a dating app. It was more supposed to be like a marriage app, but I got for that like before Ramadan started. I was on there February 14th because I was like, ugh, I'm tired of this thing. Well, let me find a man. Then I was like, I do this all the time with these apps. Like I'll start it. It won't last 3 days. Then I'll get off. So I only spoke to one person on there. I don't talk to them no more. Obviously, I cut it off before Ramadan started. And yeah, so I haven't spoke to him since before Ramadan started. Yeah. So what that means is that I chose to put God first and, do my worship and my prayers and fasting and rerouting because what I did like about the app is that it gave you the opportunity to have a wali on there. So of course, I didn't have one on there. I was trying to make sure that I set up my profile first and then get the wali involved. However, I was contacted prior to doing all that. But now that I know how it works, I feel like, I know the train is not coming. Always a train coming when I'm on a video. But anyway, I feel like I really should have the wali in place before I get on apps because talking to men alone, trying to see how they are personality wise, it's not that I don't do a good job of vetting these men. It's just like I feel like when you're on an app, you can't really see who you're talking to like that. Like you don't really know them. you didn't grow up with them. There's just a lot of like filling in the blanks, and I don't really like that. I like to see the guy in person, talk to him, see how he is. I'm just going to use this example. I don't want anybody where I work, okay? This is just an example. So, like, if you have coworkers, you can see the opposite gender, you can see the opposite sex, you can talk to them because you're working with them, and you can actually see how they are in character because you're working with them, right? So, in that sense, that's what I like. I like to see, like, okay, how do they treat other coworkers? How do they interact with the females on the job? How, stuff like that, because that's what I'm looking at. How do they talk to us women? If you're saying yo to me, that's a turn off. Number one, I don't like that gangster business stuff. I never did. Only for storytelling. But I mean, if you talk to me like that, it's going to turn me off because I'm a romantic person and a romantic goth. That's my background, that's my history, and I will always be that. I have been that since time immemorial. Okay. And I figured that out when I was very young, and then got older. I was like, oh, I've always been into this. Okay, well before Villavalo. Okay, so everything just led to that. Anyway, I'm going to go back to the point because I didn't really get off the point, but I'm just saying that's my background, and in that culture, we speak poetically. We speak words like the old Victorian times, there's men who talk like this. For example, they'll say, my darling, my sweetheart, my love, they're very romantic with the words. And just imagine, like, that's what I'm grown up with. That's what I'm used to hearing men talk like in the Gothic world, right? And then you out here and they're just yoing you and like, hey, yo, and all this harsh tones and harsh words. And it's like, it's a turnoff. I mean, God bless them, they don't know. And I'm not going to help them know. I just mean, like, um, that's what I'm talking about. Once again, I don't want anybody where I work. I'm just saying, like, that's what I like. I like to see the person. So when I was on the app, I did get to use the features like the video chats where you can see face to face. But still, that's really not what we're supposed to do because we can see each other, but there has to be like a chaperone. Like I would have to have a chaperone. Even though I'm 35, I would have to have a chaperone. Okay? And, so it kind of sucks. Like I can't really get the man that I want or find the man that I want because I don't have the proper chaperone to do it. So that's why I was reaching out prior to get one because in Islam, if my father is not a Muslim, I would have to seek out other men on my father's side who are like a male cousin, a brother, full blood, half blood, or an uncle, a grandfather. My grandfather's dead. Never met him before. Never met Robert. But I there's there has to be Muslim male members on my father's side, not my mother's side, on my father's side specifically. So if I don't have that, then I have to get a religious leader, like an imam, a sheikh, or they said like a judge, to do these things on my behalf. And that's what creates a little bit of dilemma for me because I'm a homebody. I don't really go out to the masjid like that. Like I did in my 20s, I was pretty active going. Now that I'm in my 30s, I haven't really. I set my intentions to go, but the way my schedule is in my life right now, I haven't really gone to a masjid. I've called different locations for different various reasons. I'm not going to get into those reasons, but it was on February 24th that I did call one inquiring about getting help to get a wali. And then, I had a situation. So I'm right now kind of contemplating if I should kind of put this on hold. But then something told me, like, it doesn't really matter what you're going through, your situation. Getting married is still half of your religion, half of your deen. And so, you really shouldn't hesitate on this matter. No matter what you're going through, you still should, try to approach that, because you're not a man. You're not supposed to be the provider anyway. So why are you worrying about that stuff? And I was like, yeah, you're right. And I was just thinking back to, like, is it conditioning? Because I've had men in the past who kind of expected me to help them out financially or to do things for them because it was just basically my choices. But basically in Islam, I'm not supposed to be doing that stuff. If I like a man and the man's liking me, he's supposed to be the one providing, not me. Okay, not me. I could help him out, but he's supposed to be the sole provider, the main provider. Supposed to. I digress. So, trying to do Islam the right way this time, I have to make a lot of changes. I have made a lot of changes, especially I noticed this Ramadan, a lot of the changes that I have made, especially because it's different from when I was practicing Islam in my 20s. From now, it's really different. Really different. I had a Quran in my past, and that Quran was gifted to me. It was green. It was green and gold. It was all in Arabic. Now, in my 20s, I was learning Arabic, but I wasn't at a fluency level to where, like, all the context, references, and everything just needed to be in Arabic. So, even though I was reading it, I wasn't, like, reciting. How could I? I didn't know the rules and all that stuff for reciting. So I was just reading. And then it was just only in Arabic. I didn't have any other cultural context to kind of compare to or to really understand what was going on. So now I have that. Now I have the Quran app, but it's in Arabic, English, and in Spanish. So I have those cross references. So when I go back into reading and practicing reciting, it has the rules for recitation, and it has the meanings, it has the morphologies for the words, so that when I'm saying things, I understand what I'm saying, not just repeating what I'm hearing or just reading without understanding. There's understanding there, and then guidelines for reciting and repeating and all that stuff that I have now that I didn't have in my 20s. So, yeah. So that's the difference. That's what's going on now. That's why I have a little bit more leverage, because in my past I was just reading and I was learning Arabic at the same time. So this time, I still have a little bit of that Arabic language background, but because I have the morphology in English, and then I have the translations from English and Spanish and going into Arabic, it gives me more insight of understanding what I'm saying, which is very important. And you'll have to know what you're saying and understanding what you're saying, not just repeating and memorizing stuff. That's not good. So I'm very happy about that. That's one of the major changes that I have made. And I noticed that in this Ramadan. Then this whole marriage thing, and it's just a lot of changes. I think the scariest thing about finding a spouse is not really like, oh, I can't find anybody. There's a lot of men out there. It's just finding someone who's compatible with me and their personality and in their character, because those things are everlasting. It doesn't matter what they look like, what I look like. Our character and our personality is everlasting. And I'm just like, do I want a man who's gonna provoke me to be angry, that's against Islam. In Islam, we're supposed to be in tranquility with one another, giving each other peace, not just saying peace, but we have to actually be each other's peace. So when I'm reading that with the understanding in the morphology in the Quran, because I'm cross-referencing from English and Spanish, this is very important. This is not something that I can ignore, because if I ignore it, I'm not going to be in a relationship to where it's exactly what God said that He wants specifically for believing women and believing men, because we're supposed to be with each other, giving each other peace and tranquility. So if we don't have peace with each other, there's something wrong there. We're not doing things the right way. And you really don't really know someone else or their intentions or how they view life and all that, even if you have the same religion, because people will practice Islam differently. And I just know for myself, like, I know all the reasons why I would leave a man, and that's not what I want. I want to get into a relationship, want to be married, not to leave. I want to stay. So just thinking of all the reasons why to stay. So if I take my time, get to know the potential partner, which I don't have right now, but if I get to know him, then I'm looking for reasons